Good evening and welcome to the committee meeting for Norwood City School Board on November 7th, 2017. I would like to call this meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We're going to go ahead and start with our discussion items. Item A is the 2018-2019 school calendar.
So in your exhibits, you'll see the calendar that's proposed for next school year. The faculty first day will be on August the 17th and the 20th. And then, of course, students will begin school on August the 21st. And the last day of school is May 24th. And it looks very similar to our school calendar this school year. There are not many changes. All of the typical holidays that we generally acknowledge, such as Veterans Day, of course, Thanksgiving break, winter break, Martin Luther King Jr., President's Day. All of those are among the dates that we honor. So there are no large changes. There actually aren't any changes at all. It represents the calendar that we have this year with full days of professional development.
And I was curious because I didn't have this calendar. The testing is still done, the state testing.
We presume that will be in April.
April? Okay, that's what I was thinking because I know with like spring break, which I saw it's the last week of March, and I thought testing was usually like the second or third week of April, just trying to optimize the time for, but kind of we're at their mercy, so.
We are.
Okay.
So that's where we somewhat designed it around that. We were fairly convinced that testing would be in the month of April.
Okay. Anything else on this or discussion on the board? All right, item B is the student attendance suspension form.
That was not in your exhibits, and so I provided a copy for you this evening. This is our typical notice of intention to suspend. We just decided that there were a few things that needed to be included that were not on there before. For example, if you look under 18 for behavior, misuse of electronic communication devices was something that we added. If you look under harassment, we decided to add bullying. Our intentions were just to represent the actual act that we were suspending for. Under truancy, we decided to change that to a different heading, and that would we changed that to say not following directions or district building rules. And so we removed actually violation of the attendance policy or excessive tardies. And the reason for that is because of the change in the truancy law in the state of Ohio. This did receive input from our building principals.
And so this is filled out by you or the building principal, and then is this ever submitted or is this just kept in the student's file?
This is actually given to a parent, and it's also shown to the student, and the student has the opportunity to sign that they have been informed as to why they're being suspended, and have the opportunity to share their side of the story. So in addition to this, there would be a formal letter written to the family, also given to the student, and we will, moving forward, add a few sentences about the actual infraction.
But this never gets recorded like through ODE. I know on Great Oaks they used to
Discipline is reported in EMIS, yes.
Okay.
Not this actual document necessarily, but...
Any other questions or discussions on this? Moving on to the agenda for the committee meeting that will be, or the actual meeting next Thursday. The first one is the Education Committee report. So now it looks like we'll approve the calendar. And then we have our January board meeting dates for approval. Anything else for discussion on those? For the organization meeting, or I'm sorry, the committee meeting, is that going to be, I know last month we talked about having the meetings move around. Are those in January?
The December 12th committee meeting will take place at Sharpsburg Library.
Right. But for January next year, will it be, I think they're both.
Gonna have to think about where that's at.
Okay. I don't know if we need to
The
add
committee meeting will take place at Sharpsburg?
It will.
for December. Yeah.
What time do we, because I know in January we start the meetings earlier since we're having the organizational meeting, I think. What time are we starting this? We usually start at 5:30. We use 5 or 5:30.
I can't remember if we started earlier or not, or just set them up to be one right after the other, but we'll look at last year's agenda.
Okay. I think we did them right after one.
I think we try to keep it at 5:30, so
Because the organizational meeting is where you swear in the new members, correct?
that's correct.
And I think that's what, we wanted to put this on here now, so we're
Right.
thinking about that.
Got it. Okay.
In December, you'll appoint President Pro Tem, and then at the organizational meeting will be the swearing in of members and then the election of the officers of the board.
Got it. And I know they've tried to do it earlier, just because, I mean, technically there would be 7 days between when school starts back and you'd only have 2 board members potentially sworn in. I don't know if you need to do it earlier in January, or if it's okay to wait. Just throwing it out
I think
there.
we should just do it at the meeting if we got it. That's why they've always, like when I came on, it wasn't until the meeting, they ended up meeting in January.
Well, I think they also offered it up when city council swears in, which is like, I think the 1st or the 2nd, just to get members on board earlier rather than later, but I'm just throwing it out there as a call out if it needs to happen.
We can do some checking on that, to see if there's anything procedurally that we would need to do different.
All right.
December's committee meeting is at Sharpsburg Library, and that's December 12th.
Yep, perfect. All right. Then item 2 is personnel. We'll have our superintendent recommendations from Dr. Sabo.
So you see a resignation from Elizabeth Miller and approval of the administrative contract for our facilities director, John Peter. You see a leave of absence from Eula Jameson. That simply, she'll be leaving the library aide position to be helpful as a substitute in the kindergarten position. We really wanted to provide those students with a familiar face every single day. And so at the end of this school year, she'll go back to that library aide position. You see a renewal of a contract for Tim Boone, our pipe fitter, and is in the tradesman position there. You see educational aides and student aides, classified subs. You see a supplemental contract from last school year. Katie served in that capacity and was not paid, so we want to make sure that we corrected that. You see our assistant athletic director who has been serving. You see high school fall play, Adam Robinson. You see elementary productions and Avenue Success folks who'll be serving. You also see Avenues for Success, again, more advisors, more folks involved in the high school fall play. And you see employee stipend for Mr. Van Salk and Mr. Newman. You see a change in status from Elizabeth Stratman. She's new to us this year, and we recognized her master's degree plus additional education. We wanted to correct that from step 1 to step 5. You see here the Maggie Donnellan. She was a 1 FTE strength and conditioning coach, moved to a 0.5. You see Brian Lewis, he was paid at a 0.5 and moved up to a 1 FTE. You see a correction to the agenda. Our career ed coordinator from Tom Munchin to Megan Gladfeller. And that concludes my recommendations.
Okay. Thank you. And then for item 3, the policy committee reports. You know anything? Sure. Okay. And then item 4 for buildings and grounds. It doesn't look like there's any facilities requests. And then item 5 is our finance committee report.
We'll have the bank reconciliation finished for you and sent out separately. It wasn't in your packet.
Okay.
The modified tax budget we do every year. It's just a different form that we submit to the county, and the county requires that resolution to do that. Item C, I mentioned to you in my actual memo to you that that's really included in item A, but I did want to call your attention to it. The E-rate, those are funds that Randall works hard to get, and will be coming in this year, so that's a pretty big project he'll be working on, which means he's got a lot of work to do as well. And then also on item D, I wanted to draw your attention to the easier one here, I think, from a board member's perspective. The debt service fund is just simply a timing of tax revenue. In other words, we owe more principal and interest than we had the revenue come in the spring, and that will be fine and repaid. The general fund has been challenged all year. It started, if you remember, it ended last year with a negative balance, and we advanced money to it and then immediately repaid it. And so we're asking for another advance to keep it going. There's probably some operating challenges here at the level that it's supporting programs. It's either going to have to cut back on the support of those programs, or there's going to have to be subsidy from the general fund to support each of these different sports at the level they're at today. And so that's still a work in progress. I don't have yet to even be able to look at Dr. Sabo and say, here's what I would even recommend at this point in time. What I do know is we need a temporary loan, and that'll keep us going here for a little while, and we'll come up with the answers longer term as we work with Mitch and that. And part of it is that the boosters do, it's not fair to say, oh, but they have committed to a certain amount of money that we haven't received yet either. So that's it.
Any other discussion or items?
I failed to mention, we have selected a couple candidates to fulfill some positions that we had open. We had a 5th grade science position open at Norwood. We have interviewed for that, and then we have found a candidate, and you'll see that person's name on the agenda. Her name is Denise Heiser. We've also found an ESL person to serve here at Williams Avenue. So she'll serve half-time as well as half-time reading, and her name is Jenny Simowitz. And we're still working on that SRO contract. We hope to have it for you, but we may not, so we're still working on that.
That's everything. We are adjourned at 6:16.